Hey guys, today I'll be teaching you how to do the area problem in the integral section of calculus. So here we have a problem, find the area of the bounded region, and it gives you a graph. So we're trying to find A, which is all this space that is under this, bounded by y equals x squared and x equals b. This is going to be A, and this is going to be b. So in this case, b is 1, so it's bounded by this here. So it will be incredibly difficult to find an area of such an obscure line. So the best we can do is estimate using rectangles. Now if it doesn't specify what endpoints to use, the left endpoints or the right endpoints or the midpoints, you can do this in 3 ways. So the left endpoints, you start on the left of the graph. The right endpoints, you start on the right of the graph. And the midpoints, it doesn't really matter where you begin as long as you use the midpoint of the graph. So let's get started with the left endpoints. Before we begin, we want to split this up into however many rectangles we need. The more rectangles you have, the closer you will be to a limit for the area. Now, let's just say I want to split this up into 4. So let's go 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4. So like that. These will be all 1/4 in size. So because we're starting on the left, you want to begin at the left, right here, but see there's no space to actually make a rectangle here. So you just leave it like that, and then start left again, make a rectangle to the next point, like that, and then start left again, make another rectangle to the next point, and again, till the end. Okay, so for a better understanding, let's label these rectangles. So we'll call this rectangle 1, rectangle 2, 3, and 4. So to find the area of a rectangle, remember, it's A equals base times height. And your height here, because the graph is y equals x squared, will be x squared. Your base, of course, is always going to be 1/4, because that is your rate of change of x. Now this just means how much does x change, and it's going to be, in this graph, 1/4. So here I already did the calculations for you. So in the first rectangle, you times base and the height together, and there's no height, so the height is just 0, and that just gives you 0, of course. And then in the second rectangle, you have the base, which is still 1/4, because that is your rate of change of x, aka the length of this right here, and this, and this. So the base is 1/4, and remember, you're trying to find this right here, and that's the height. And that's essentially just finding the y value. To find the y value, you gotta go back to this equation here, which is y equals x squared, and just plug in x. So here, I explain it to you that f of x equals x squared, and just plug in 1/4, that is the x point to find your y value. In the third rectangle, you do the exact same thing, as well as the fourth rectangle, and you get the answer to be 7/32. This is for the left endpoints. Now the reason why you don't go to 1 here is because you're only finding the left endpoints, and there is no rectangle that goes like this, because it is just down to here. So there's no rectangle for there. Now let's progress to the right endpoints of this graph. So in contrast to the left endpoints where you started from the left, today we want to go to the right endpoints. So first you start at the right endpoint, which is right there, to the end, or the beginning. So that is your first rectangle. Then you start from the right point here, go to the left point, like that. And then same for here, you want to start at the right point here, and also here. And that is how you do the right endpoints of a graph. So to solve for the area of the estimate of the bounded region, remember it's area times base times height. That doesn't change no matter where you go. So A equals base times height, and base will be the rate of change of x, which is still 1/4, and then times the height, which is still y equals x squared. So here I've already solved it out for you. The area of the first rectangle is 1/4, which is the base, times the height, which is 1/4 squared, because remember the function is y equals x squared, and you're trying to find y, so you can do base times height. In the second rectangle, it's the same thing, except you use this for your x value, and then this for your y value in the next one, and then you use 1. Now, the reason why, as I explained here before, the reason why you don't use 1 here, but you use 1 here, is because here you're going from the left endpoints, and here you're going from the right endpoints. This reminds me of an equation that you guys might come across. I know this looks kind of scary, but if you look at it, it's actually quite simple, and we've been doing it this entire time. So let's break this down. Here, that is just going to be your height, and this is just going to be your base. So I've already explained why this is the base, because here, this is your rate of change of x, which is going to be the same for all of these, because x changes at the same length. Now your height, remember, is just plugging your x value into the f of x function to give you your y value, which will also be your height. So you multiply these until you go to f of x of n, and then this n just means where you stop. Now sometimes they give it to you, or sometimes you just have to figure it out. Like here, we just used 4 because I guess you can just use anything you want. You can use 6, 8, whatever. But the greater number of n you use, the more accurate your estimation will be. Now this is the same thing, except here we're starting at f of x of 0. Now this just means that you start here because you're starting from the left endpoints, whereas here you don't start from 0, you start from 1/4. Also, one more thing, you also end at n minus 1, opposed to this just regular x of n on the right endpoints. And because you end here on the left endpoints is because you start from here when you do your last endpoint. You don't start from here. Like here, you start from 1. Here, you don't start from 1. You start from 3/4. And that is what you use to figure out your height. So let's move on to the midpoint. Remember here, it doesn't matter where you begin. So you can begin here or here, what does matter? As long as you use the midpoint. So solving for the midpoint estimate is essentially the same, except you want to use this value, your midpoint value, the value you use for your midpoint, for plugging into f of x, which is x squared, to find your height, because you use this point to determine the height of your rectangle, and your bases will still be the same. So thank you very much for tuning in. I will try to post more this week or maybe next week, I don't know. And just leave any comments in the section below if you want any improvement. I'm sorry if there's any troubles because this is my first time creating a YouTube video. Thank you so much and have a great day. Good luck on your test.